Hi, I'm Cassie Martin, and in this video, the IPP Demonstration Sites project will spotlight the inclusionary practice of inclusive individual education programs, featuring a case study from Evergreen High School in Vancouver, Washington. So what is an inclusive individual education program? All students are entitled to free and appropriate education that meets their needs, provides access to the general curriculum and setting, and prepares them for life beyond school. Individual education programs outline how a public school will provide that appropriately ambitious instruction to support students with disabilities. It is important to note that the IEP does not replace a general curriculum, but rather outlines the specially designed instruction to be required to effectively engage in and make progress in the general curriculum. Inclusive IEPs prioritize students' right to be educated alongside their non-disabled peers and tie goals to grade level curriculum standards. To achieve this, a collaborative multidisciplinary team is necessary. Educators, parents, and providers collaborate to co-create and target goals and to embed services and age-appropriate supports into the student's school day and general education environment. So what should be included in the development of an inclusive IEP? Inclusive IEPs should include person-centered planning approaches and tools, for example, like the maps or paths, and those should be prioritized to get to know students, build collaborative relationships, center hopes and dreams, and disrupt deficit approaches. Present levels are written using a strengths-based approach and lens, and language that's used in present levels should also be strength-based. Special education teachers, general education teachers, related service providers, and family co-assess and collaborate on goal development related to grade level content standards. IEP goals need to include and address curriculum standards, essential skills, and peer interactions, and are written to allow for goals to be addressed and embedded throughout naturally occurring events and learning opportunities throughout the day. IEP service delivery matrices show how special education services are provided in the general education context, which can include large group and small group instruction and instruction occurring in flexible spaces. There are opportunities for students to be involved, provide input, and/or they can lead their IEP meetings. And families are involved in the process of creating an IEP, but also in the ongoing collaboration through implementation and revision and discussion about their child's education. IEP goals at a glance are a great way to let everyone know about accommodations and IEP goals, and it should be it's necessary that those are shared across all teachers and staff that are interacting with that student. So why are inclusive IEPs important? Inclusive IEPs provide a structured format and space that promotes collaboration and communication. IEP teams that center inclusivity create a space where providers are encouraged to collaborate on the creation and implementation plan of all goals. These goals should be based on assessment data, heavily center the student and family's priorities, and should relate to grade level curriculum standards. When goals are conceptualized based on student strengths and family priorities and are targeted in the natural environment by multiple educators, they have the potential to have meaningful outcomes. It's important to reflect on the term meaningful outcomes. We want learners to leave our classrooms with skills and experiences that help them navigate their next setting, from higher education to the workforce, to independent living, to supported living. The settings our students move to differ greatly and require many different skill sets, but they have one very important thing in common, and that's community. Our learners are stepping out into a community that relies on collaboration, flexibility, and curiosity, a setting in which the ability to seek information and help is an invaluable tool. The most meaningful outcomes are ones that connect students to their community and provide them with skills to navigate and benefit from it. Our classrooms are communities, each containing their own knowledge, learning opportunities, and priorities. Inclusive IEPs allow educators to take these nuances into account and create individualized systems and goals that help connect students to their peers and to their community. So what are some of the possible outcomes from inclusive IEPs? One is that you have the benefits of the collective expertise and collaboration from all educators, service providers, and family members, which can result in a more comprehensive education program. There's the use and supports and curriculum that are age appropriate and identify goals that center grade level curriculum standards, which lead to better outcomes for all of our students. We have increased engagement in the classroom learning and progress in the general curriculum. An increased application as IEP goals are addressed in natural settings and across multiple settings and times throughout a student's day. And there's a structure to guide educators and other personnel in knowing the who, when, and where regarding supports and services. Some important things to remember is that IEP should be written to support inclusion in the general education curriculum and in the general education classroom. Be sure to write present levels in ways that are strength-based and person-centered to discourage any kinds of limitations or barriers to inclusion. IEP goals are standards-based and are written to support engagement in that grade level content. And IEP goals are written to occur during naturally occurring events throughout the day and across people and environments. The IEP should include statements about special education services, supplementary aids and services, and related services. And each of the above areas ensure that inclusive education for students is the target of an IEP meeting. So now I'm proud to highlight a case study, which is Evergreen High School, as mentioned before, in Vancouver, Washington. Before 2010, Evergreen High School's on-time graduation rate was below 70% for all students in Evergreen Public Schools. After the district began working on their goal of 100% on-time graduation, by 2013, the on-time graduation rate soared to over 80%. Even with a significant change in supporting all students, data on state testing was showing that students with IEPs were performing much lower on average than students without IEPs. Students with IEPs were also not showing progress on the state testing data in ways that students without IEPs were in their grade level cohorts. This forced Evergreen High School to take a hard look at the ways they were providing services to students with IEPs. And part of that examination included how they were writing IEPs and the impact that has on student outcomes. After reviewing the progress data for students with IEPs, Evergreen High School started to establish co-teaching and co-planning processes and rewrote IEPs so the goals aligned with the general education curriculum standards. When co-teaching classes were established and IEP goals were addressed, those grade level standards, the data showed growth for students with IEPs as a result of receiving that instruction on core academic content. There was significant growth in the percentage of students who access general education settings 80 to 100% of the day. Before 2010, students with IEPs were accessing 80 to 100% as low as 40% in some years. After 2013, the number increased to 76%, and the access to general education classrooms and content helped students with IEPs achieve similar growth to their grade level peers without IEPs on state assessments over the last 7 years. These shifts in both where and how and what students were learning stressed that special education is a service, not a location. It also reaffirmed for Evergreen High School educators and leadership that IEPs needed to align with grade level standards, knowing that the standards were the journey, not the destination. In addition to aligning goals with grade level standards, Evergreen High School also had to examine how special education teachers were functioning and how they were using their resources to achieve their goals and change student outcomes. This included reimagining how they wrote IEPs and then how they delivered SDI in general education classrooms. The professional development provided to reconceptualize the way Evergreen High School supported students and provided special education services was rooted in helping to provide scaffolds and supports, but reinforcing that the classroom teachers were the primary vehicles for instruction. Evergreen High School made sure to explicitly address that students belonged with their peers. All students at Evergreen High School are general education students, and some students receive special education services. But again, the location for this needs to be in general education classrooms. Professional development from special education focused on unpacking standards for IEP goals, measurable annual goals, co-teaching, paraeducator support, universal design for learning, digital binders, and personalized learning plans. Book studies and co-teaching visits supported the learning of co-teachers, and addressing support materials to increase students' access to the core curriculum came in the way of digital learning tools and programs. Speech to text, text to speech software, online reading programs, visual learning tools, and IEP writing software were different tools that supported special educators with helping students access the core curriculum. Partnerships with different departments also broke down silos around the district. Special services partnered with social emotional learning, ELL, federal programs, teaching and learning, and IT departments in order to support access for all students and to shift and change the way they are writing their IEPs. Students were sharing they wanted to experience opportunities to have math and English classes with their grade level peers. Students in co-taught classes appreciated the opportunity to learn with their grade level peers. They also appreciated being able to see how their IEP goals aligned with what was happening in the classes they were taking. They reported frustration with the previous practices of being segregated to receive that specially designed instruction. After co-teaching occurred a few years, in 2013, students were asked if they successfully completed most class assignments, and student reports indicated that over 80% of the responses were most of the time or always. Students reported that they felt that they were able to participate in class assignments most of the time or always at 87%. Students also reported that they were engaging in class discussions most of the time at 65%. When their IEPs were inclusive, focusing on what was happening in their learning environments, and when there was a master schedule that also addressed times for all students to engage in that essential skill development, Evergreen High School finally started seeing the progress of all of their students, not just some of them. Some of the takeaways from both the information about inclusive IEPs and Evergreen's case study are that students report that they want experience in classes with their grade level peers and to engage in learning that content. IEPs need to be written to support progress in the general curriculum, and creating an IEP is a collaborative endeavor that should be strength-based and student and family centered. The IEP team members all play a role and are all responsible for providing specially designed instruction, and IEP services should be provided within naturally occurring routines and learning and in natural contexts. Here are some additional resources to learn more about inclusive individual education programs. If you'd like to learn more, please feel free to check out our website at ippdemosites.org, and you can watch Evergreen High School's webinar on their journey to inclusive education and their deep dive into co-planning and collaboration. Thank you.